I was not here last Sunday because I flew out last Saturday to go to a workshop intensive that I was clearly guided to attend. It started Sunday night. I was determined I'd be speaking this Sunday. I kept getting a nudge that perhaps that wouldn't be the case because the workshop was from 8 in the morning till 9 at night, Monday through Friday, and I flew home yesterday. The workshop was on spiritual guidance, but it took me until Wednesday to follow that guidance. On Wednesday, I said, I see the impossibility of this. I cannot be fully present here. There's no way I can be prepared on Sunday unless I channel, and I'm not quite sure we're both up for that spirit on Sunday. So if it is to be, now this is with a church full of ministers, I said, I want clear guidance. What am I to do? About 3 o'clock that afternoon, I heard, check your email. So I said, if it's somebody else is speaking, I want clear guidance. I said, check my email. I had just received an email from Dale Allen Hoffman, who said, I'd like for us to connect. And I sent him back an email, said, well, there may be an opportunity to speak this Sunday. Would you be available? He said, I was planning to be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Spirit changed my plans. I said, thank you. I believe we're in this together. Would you please welcome Dale Allen Hoffman?
Beautiful. So here I am. This is like a homecoming for me. Half the band, all these people I've known for so long. Yeah, it did kind of work out like that. And so let me just real briefly explain what I do, who I am. I'm that guy that a lot of people have heard of that does a lot of things with the Aramaic language, Aramaic toning, translating from Aramaic to English, working with Greek, Latin, Hebrew, all these different manifestations of language. And live in Asheville, so I'm actually very close. I've actually spoken here probably about 15 times in the past, in its past incarnation. And wow, did it just, what awesome. Y'all have done awesome work here, not just the music. But 20 years ago, I was very scholarly, lots of words, studied lots of things. I did my best to, I always had this deep knowing that I was going to be off the beaten path, kind of outside the fence, that I was not supposed to learn, to get my learning from like theological seminaries and things like that. I was supposed to be looking deeper and going wider, that I wasn't supposed to get the menu that everybody else was being served, so to speak. And for a while, I got really deep into the languages themselves, and then it started boiling down and boiling down and boiling down. And this is what I was left with, actually, at the end. Frequency. Frequency and vibration. I could go off forever about that, but the most impossible word to translate from ancient Aramaic into any other language is the word translated as word. Logos in the Greek. I can tell you one thing it doesn't mean word. In Greek, it would be Lexus, or Lego would be actually Greek. Legos, you know, the little plastic things. But the closest thing I can come to, in my book, Echoes of an Ancient Dream, Aramaic Toning on the Path of Light, there was originally 6 pages of translations of the word word. And then I realized you'd get the point if I put it in like 2 or 3 lines and just said it could have gone on for 6 pages. Because none of them was a direct translation. They were all facets or nuances. And it ended up coming down to frequency and vibration. And when I started doing what the ancients did, such as toning these ancient words, something that I cannot explain opened up within me, even without making the sound, just bringing my awareness to the tonality of the vibration of these sacred words in the language of Yeshua, Jesus, which comes from the Greek Jesus, which means hail Zeus, side note. It just opened something up in me that's impossible to explain, so rather than explaining, let's do it. Little experiment here. So the sound we're going to tone, we'll just do it 3 times. In most ancient languages, like Akkadian, Phoenician, Sumerian, anything Semitic, Aramaic, Hebrew, the older versions, if you look at that right there, that direct, what would be called a masculine light or flame, and I've got a little Horus necklace on here, Ra. That's called Ra when you look at it directly. Now, when you see its reflection, it's called Nuh-Ra. Nuh-Ra. Ra is the light of the sun, and the sun, the word for the sun is representative of the light of God. Intriguingly, Shemshah is the word for sun. The moon was called Sahara. Now, the direct light is called Ra. Its reflection is called Nuh-Ra. Sunlight is Ra. Moonlight, which is a reflection of sunlight, is Nuh-Ra. God light is Ra. Human light, human awareness, human consciousness is Nuh-Ra. God light is called masculine. Human light is called feminine. We're not talking about two different things. Okay? There's no place where negative turns into positive, where masculine turns into feminine. There's no place where the light turns into the dark. You can't find that line because it's not two different things. If you get this, you get it all. As soon as you comprehend that, you're talking about a singularity. So the sound we're going to make is Nu-Ra. And let me give you an example. It's kind of like before the sun comes over the horizon, it's called Nu-Ra. The light is. When it hits your eye directly, it's called Ra. So I'm going to tone this kind of like a sunrise, or well, maybe that's not the best example, because sometimes when that sun hits you, it just kind of pops you between the eyes. Let's talk about it like a sunset on the Gulf of Mexico. It's Ra, and then it becomes Nu-Ra. So what I'm saying is we're not going to tone Nu-Ra, but rather something like this, okay? You don't have to hit the pitch. You don't have to turn blue and fall over on the ground because you ran out of breath, okay? Something like this. Okay, we're going to make that sound 3 times. Nu-Ra. And then we're just going to be in silence for a few moments. So, Nu-Ra. You ready? Good breath through the nose. One more wide open, let it ring out. Without attaching words to it, this is kind of a rhetorical question. How do you feel right now? Just for making a sound. I could talk for 2 hours about feminine light. You wouldn't get what you got from doing that. And without even going into the letters themselves, each of the sounds in the ancient Semitic alphabets reflected direct vibrational states of being that were awakened as you made the sounds themselves. Even the letter shapes reflected that. Not like English, which is a hodgepodge of dozens of different languages, and we don't even know what the words mean. Awful. Oh, that's awful. What does awful mean? It means full of all. Look in early 20th century New Thought writings. Awful was a great thing. It's awful. Terrific. What does that mean? That's terrific. Full of terror. When Perry Como sang in Home for the Holidays, the traffic, from Atlantic to Pacific, the traffic is terrific. I don't think he was saying, oh boy, the traffic. It's not quite what he meant. So we've lost the meaning of words. Another word that directly reflects on this season is a word that I don't really use except as a reference point to tell people how I don't use it, which is the word Lord. Anybody know where the word Lord comes from? Let me say this, just as a little precursor. It has absolutely nothing to do with Yeshua, the teachings of Jesus, Christianity, or any of those things. Nothing. Anybody know where the word Lord comes from? You can probably guess and get it. It comes out of feudalism. 9th century early to middle English feudalism. Lord was the guy who comes from the word loaf ward. He was called the giver of life or the bread giver. He was at the top of the pyramid. And then that pyramid spreads out and all the peons and the serfs are at the bottom. He's the ruler, which is the one who measures out the parameters of the society, what you must stay within, the guidelines, so to speak. It's funny because if you tone the word Lord, it sounds like a southerner saying Lord. Lord, lowered. It's a lowered vibration. Now here's the thing about that. This is one of those words that really gets across the point of why the original language that's something, especially in the ancient languages when the vibrations were more succinct and palpable, this is one of the most perfect examples of why the ancient languages, if we could just bring back at least some of the words. I'm about to tell you something that most, bless their hearts, experts in Christian theology and the Bible and biblical languages do not even know, okay? The word for Lord in the language of Yeshua, Jesus, in Aramaic sounded like this. I'll tone it for you, okay? Maria. That Mar sound is an ancient Akkadian tonality root that means a bedrock of strength. It's what ultimately ended up in Koine Greek when we had all of the pantheon of gods and we had Mars, which is where the planet gets its name from. And then Rhea, Rhea, Ra, Ora, Ura are all ancient tones that mean an expanding light. Intriguingly, Maria, or Rhea, means an expanding feminine light. So rather than just a physical light you're looking at, it's more a light that's sensed, not directly seen. There's something that, there's so much of a richness in those teachings, and we miss the richness of the teachings because we're lost in the story. There's a great quote from Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell said that we continually mistake mythological symbols and archetypes as being references to historical facts. So we look at the story and think the story happened physically. Did it actually happen? You ever play Pass the Secret with like 10 5-year-olds? And I mean, it starts here and ends up in, you don't even know what they're even talking about at the end. Imagine that. I'm not implying that could happen with biblical teachings. Through multiple languages, cultures, misogynist rule, meaning woman-hating, to be blunt. But it's amazing. One of those things that got totally lost in the mix is that idea of a virgin, which is not unique to Christianity in any way whatsoever. That word virgin in Aramaic is betula or betalta, which means pure or empty. Meister Eckhart talked about how it wasn't about a virgin physical human womb, it was about an open, empty heart. You know, the first beatitude, blessed are the poor in spirit, what an awful translation. Because the way that was translated, this has everything to do with this word virgin. When they translated from ancient Aramaic into Koine Greek, which the scholars will deny, but the original Koine Greek, supposed original text, the oldest ones that we have none of the originals, have Aramaic idioms all over them, and Aramaic was written differently than it was spoken. So you can look at the supposed Greek original texts and see Aramaic idioms where it makes no sense in Greek, but if you look at it in Aramaic, it's obvious it came from a written Aramaic source. But one of the things that happened was a lot of the teachings went from written Aramaic into Koine Greek before they started putting in phonetic markings, vowel sounds. So as an example, let's say you've got 4 letters, M-S-K-N, okay, in English. Mem, Samak, Kul, Nun in Aramaic. Pronounce the letters M-S-K-N as a word. Miskin. I've asked this of thousands and thousands of people over 23 years, and I've never heard somebody say maskin ever. But what's funny is when the phonetics went in, it went from miskin to maskin. Now, miskin means poor, as in lacking. Okay? Lacking. Now, when you put the A sound, the ah sound, maskin or maskin, maskin means something a little bit different. Let's say that you had $2,000 in your wallet, and you just got to America, you got off a plane, You have no family here. You can't go back to where you came from because it's in civil unrest. I don't know. I'm just making this up. And you're standing in the middle of an alley at 2 a.m. in New York City, which is what most foreigners do, right? And you open your wallet to look at your 2,000 American dollars. And somebody runs up and grabs it away and runs off. And that was all that you had. You have no other possessions, no other money, no place to live, no job, no family, nothing. You can say you're what? Poor, as in lacking. And that would be miskin. Sell your possessions, give it to the poor. Now, what's intriguing is if you look at it in Aramaic, it becomes maskin. And it's a little bit different. Let's say you've got a wallet, 2,000 American dollars, and you surrender that $2,000, put it in your front pocket. Now the wallet is empty, which is what that first beatitude meant in Aramaic, in Jesus' language. Not blessed are the poor or lacking in spirit, but blessed are those who are empty or open. And that's what that virgin idea really meant. A great quote from a friend of mine, Albert LaChance. This is from a book, The Modern Christian Mystic. If you're a recovering Catholic or a recovering Southern Baptist, I'm just repeating the phrase that others say. Often people come up to me and say, I'm in recovery. I'm like, you're going to have to expand on that. There's lots of different forms of... But this is from Albert. He says, imagine light, the first light, the light of God streaming over the horizon of the beginning. Thus was the universe conceived of nothing but the logos, the vibration frequency of God. In that sense, the universe is itself a virgin birth, born of no thing but the consciousness of God. The universe is a divine child, born of the selfhood of God, expressed as conscious light. Imagine for a moment a gushing font of fire spraying forth into the dark womb of nothingness. And you know, one of the things I often say to people is, we always refer to silence as nothing, but the reason silence scares us so much isn't because it's nothing, it's because silence is everything. And it contains the undivided holiness, the emptiness, and we can't perceive all of that at once. You can't perceive God. You can't know God. Either you're that or you're not. If you know God, you've got you plus what you know, and you're just having a relationship with a concept, like, religion, which can be a great guidance on the path, but sometimes we get lost in the story. So let's just look at a couple of things. Just a couple of really brief little bits of story here involving Mary. Now, first of all, Jesus was born where? Bethlehem, right? Anybody know why? Census. There was no census that year. It was written into the Bible. There was no census that year. That's been known for many, many decades now. Funny. It happened somewhere between 3 and 4 years before, 3 and 4 years after the birth of Yeshua, which would have been about 3 or 4 BC. What we know of as BCE in the scholarly realm, but now before the Common Era. Interesting. But he had to be born in Bethlehem because prophecy, city of David. And they said that would come from the bloodline of David and would be born in Bethlehem, the house of bread. Interesting. They even show you his bloodline at the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew. And it goes through all these different layers of generations, and then it goes, who's right before Jesus? Joseph, not Mary. Wait a second here, hold on here. These things called secrets, the word sod in Hebrew, means something that you've seen 1,000 times. You've looked at it, but you've never seen its true nature. You've only seen those frames and beliefs that your mind projects upon it. So here's something right under our nose in the Bible, and they're saying it's the bloodline of Jesus, and they show Joseph, his stepfather. Is anybody allowed to think? Is that Jesus' bloodline?
No thinking.
No thought allowed. Okay. So I was still thinking, though. They show it to you in Luke, but in Luke it goes in reverse. It's a completely different bloodline, and I've seen people write books about how it's the same bloodline, even though they have nothing to do with each other. And it goes Jesus, Joseph, and goes all the way from Adam to God. Again, it's not his bloodline. Interesting thought, huh? Right there under our noses. And let's look at another thing. First of all, his name is Jesus of Nazareth. Does anybody know what the town name is after a male name in the ancient Semitic languages? It's where they were born. It is not their bloodline, because where do you start the bloodline? How far back do you go to consider it a bloodline? Interesting thing. The word Nazareth is an ancient Aramaic word, Nazarit, that means initiate. There's even some evidence that Nazareth did not exist at the time he was born. Not everybody is in agreement. If it did exist, it was probably only a couple hundred people. Sepphoris, which was just a small walk onto another hill, had about 40,000 people. Now, Nazareth is about 70 miles from there to Jerusalem. Let's picture this. Beautiful Mary. We're going to stick her in the 8th month of her pregnancy. We're going to stick her on the back of an ass. And we're going to walk her through the desert for 70 miles to sign our names into a book that's not there, that doesn't exist, that never happened, to pay a tax that we didn't pay that year because they didn't collect it that year. And actually, if you look in other places, it said they fled to Egypt. So then you start looking at that. All right, well, let's look at some other things. Jesus was what was his trade? Carpenter. Anybody ever been to the Middle East? There's one thing that's sorely lacking. That word is tekton in Greek, which just means craftsman, which is a Gnostic idiom that has nothing to do with a trade that somebody has. It was a representation of the architect of the universe, or the mind that created the cosmos. When Yeshua said, I come to crucify the world, that word world is cosmos in Greek. I come to crucify the cosmos. I come to crucify your idea of time and space. In Aramaic, the word's alma, which means time and space. Nice. So if they did work on wood, they worked about 3 days a year, and it would have been on a mantelpiece, and that's it. So he really probably was really poor, if that's the truth. But, so he was born in a manger. No, he was laid in a manger. He was born in a stable. Has anybody ever seen the word stable in a Bible, saying that he was born in a stable? It's not there. It's not in the Bible. Really? Interesting. Does anybody know where the stable idea comes from? First of all, they didn't have wood. And if they did, it was a door frame or a mantle, and that's as far as it went. And the people that had that were really rich. What it actually says in the ancient languages, it says he was laid in a manger because there's no room in the inn. No, it doesn't. Now, in Greek, that word for inn is kataluma, which doesn't mean inn. It means the upper room. The upper room is the main dwelling area of a home, and that's where the family would gather. But then there's a lower room. These are caves, essentially. In the lower room is where they would often put the animals in the colder months. And the body heat would heat the rest of the house, along with other things that comes with body heat from animals. Of course, there's shepherds tending to their flocks in the middle of December in blistering cold, but we're not going to go there on that one. And a funny little thing, though, okay, that manger scene, does anybody know where it comes from? The idea of a stable. It's only about 900 years old. Kind of like hell is only about 900 years old. Read Dante. Funny. Now, the manger scene was actually created in the year 1223 by St. Francis of Assisi. Created something called a presepe, which was a nativity scene in a local Italian context with a wood stable so that the children could relate with and understand that story of that virgin birth with God as daddy. Interesting thing. And here today we think it says stable. There's a few things in that story that we don't realize. There's something that's going to happen. Well, actually, in a couple of days, we've got Santa Lucia Day, the saint of light, who would actually guide people with the brilliance of what's the energy point of the human body, the eyes, that entry point of light. But then exactly 9 or 8 days after that, we've got the winter solstice. Something interesting happens on winter solstice. because the sun, from the perception of earth, what was called the only begotten in ancient times, drops down into, if you were in the Israel, Palestine, Arabian, southern Greece, southern Europe, Mediterranean area 2,000 years ago, you would have seen that the sun moved right into the middle of what's called the Southern Crux or cross, which is a cockeyed constellation of stars that looks like a cross. Today you can see it from the perception of the Caribbean. And the sun drops into the center of that cross on December 21st every year, where it's dead for 3 days on a cross. Late on December 24th, the three kings of Orion's belt point directly at Sirius, the star in the east, the dog star, and on Christmas morning, December 25th, the sun, the only begotten sun, rises off of the cross by moving 1 degree from the perception of earth, so that the three kings follow the star in the east to locate the only begotten Son of God, which is born on Christmas morning. Mistaking mythological archetypes as being references to historical facts. There's power in the story, but the power is not in the story. The power is in the frequency of love and the vibrations that you feel in your temple, your energy body, in response to that. And that's really what we need to focus on, is the universality of, we have these great crystalline angelic frequencies, and yet here we ask for greater light, higher awareness, faster vibration, and those same new agey angelic frequencies that were so comfortable in the 90s are now going, same frequencies, and we're saying the world's falling apart. It's kind of like an orchestra that's tuning up. Doesn't matter if the string section's a few cents off. But as the womb awakens and the energy body opens, all of a sudden the frequencies that are out of tune, as everything starts sounding, you become much more aware of those frequencies in the system. So what I say to you is, what are you birthing from? Are you birthing from that place of emptiness that comes in your heart, from that universal cosmic nature of that stillness, of the silence, of your true, that purity of your own, you could say, spiritual virginity, the unseen realms? Or are you birthing from all of the stuff, your BS, your belief systems? I wasn't going to say that word on a Sunday morning. I might get away with it at the early service, but power of suggestion, you've already thought the word. I didn't have to say it. So your belief systems, are you birthing from that? Or are you bringing what you manifest into this world, manifestus Latin, which means obvious? Are you manifesting from the silence, from the totality, the undivided holiness, or from all of that junk that you got programmed into your consciousness? That's what on earth as it is in heaven means. That it's not this. Your thoughts aren't creating your life. Your thoughts create the dream, the movie that you watch on the screen. But the movie's not real. And the film strip on the projector is not real. You're the light in the projector, but there's no movie, there's no film strip, and there's no projector. There's only that one light in all of her beautiful manifestations. And it looks like billions and billions of light on earth, but actually there's only one. You'll do more this season for yourself and for bringing forth this new earth, to just allow your heart to be open, be aware of the rise and fall of your breath, be aware of the beat of your heart, be aware of the movement of air across your skin, the sounds around you. Go outside tonight and listen. Listen to the cosmos. Close your eyes. Breathe it in. Because that's what we're here for, to be those open, empty vessels of purity and emptiness. You don't need to create the perfect life. You are that perfected holiness. Just allow yourself to get out of the way and let it birth consciously through you. Because that's why we're here. That's why we're all here right now. You made an agreement to be here now. And here you are. Reach your hand out. When you see someone, look into their eyes. That was an interesting thing after 9/11 in New York City. All of a sudden, all these people were looking in each other's eyes. So let's just, before we move into the meditation, let's take one big breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. That word spirit in Aramaic, ruha, means frequency or vibration. Breath, spirit, wind, energy, electricity, magnetism, sound, music. So let's take you a little deeper into your breath right now. I'm going to take 2 more deep breaths in through the nose, into the body temple, and out through the mouth. One more. Now we're going to do a little bit of a tone together with this beautiful bed of angelic music beneath us. The sound that we're going to make sounds like this. Instead of me taking you on a guided meditation, I'm going to take you on a meditation of vibration and frequency. And after we do these first few tones, you're just going to be in those ancient frequencies and allow these energies, allow the wind to blow through you, in the words of the Lakota. Okay? So the sound we're going to make is Aun. Can you say that? It's like Om, but with an N. Aun. Aun. We're going to tone it like this. Aun. Again, you don't have to hit the pitch exactly. You don't have to fall over blue in the face. So let's make that sound 3 times, and then I'm going to go off on a bit of a toning journey for you, okay? And you can just receive that. 3 Auns, wide open. Get a good breath. One more, wide open. Just be open. Wundwashmeya. Neat Kadash. Shmok. Te Te. Malkutok. Nehwe Tzivyana Kaikana. Washmeya. Up Bealrea. Hablan Lachmadasun Kananyomana. Washbuklan Hobain Wochdahin. Aikana Dap Honan Shwakan Lachayabain. Wela Tahlan Lenesiune. Ilapatsan min bisha. Metul didelaki malkuthag. Wahel wateshpukta. La elam. Amen. Our one absolute eternal being, of which we are born forth from the realm of the all and the only. I am empty within the ecstasy of your presence and the purity of the vibration of your name. Empower my creative expansion through your emergence from the unseen realms as I realize our life and will as one on the manifest earth as in the unmanifest heavenly realms. Provide the nourishment of clear insight and realization through me now and in each present moment. Release the echoes of my hidden past and cancel all of my concerns with others. Do not let me lose my true self in forgetfulness, but wholly release me from the errors of my perceptions. For the undivided holiness is the absolute, the all, and the only. And our deep, intimate realization of the gratitude and grace of holy magnificence. From cosmic gathering to cosmic gathering, from age to age, aeon to aeon, forever and ever, Ilam Almin, from moment to moment, from now to now. May these pure intentions be the rooted, fertile earth center from which all my actions flow. Follow these vibrations into the silence. Let us very mindfully bring our awareness back into this sacred space. Deep breath. With that I say, Amen, and so